What's up, fight fans? This is Kurt DeVille with Counterpunch Boxing News, and I got some new news concerning the middleweight division. Eddie Hearn has went on record to state that Canelo Alvarez is favored to take on Danny Jacobs. That's if he gets by Deverenchenko, okay? And they're going to fight soon, and that's for the IBF. Okay, the IBF was once held by Gennady Golovkin, which was stripped because he was waiting on the negotiations with Canelo Alvarez. Ironically, he loses that anyway, and Danny Jacobs fights for it. If he gets past Deverenchenko, which is an undefeated fighter, that I think that's his fourth undefeated fighter that he's fought. You know what I mean? And Danny Jacobs, regardless of what people say, he made a good count of himself, and he lost to Golovkin. He lost a decision to Golovkin, but he did show that he silenced a lot of critics. He showed that he could take a punch. He showed a lot in that fight, and, it was a very close fight. So, his resume, he lost nothing from losing to Golovkin that day, and the way he lost, you know what I mean? That makes all the difference in the world. So, yes, his resume is creeping up as being one of the best in the middleweight division. Okay. So, Eddie Hearn's being his new promoter for Matchroom. They are looking forward to that fight because, of course, Canelo Alvarez fights on DAZN also. And according to Eddie Hearn, he stated that, hey, that's the favorite. Andrade, okay, is also a fighter. I'm going to talk about that later, because he had a good fight, a interesting performance, right, last night. But it's either him or Andrade, which are two good fights of Canelo. And these were actually the fights that I wanted to see anyway. I wanted to see Canelo and Jacobs because, as you can remember, Jacobs was one of the picks supposedly that was going to take that slot for September if Golovkin didn't want to fall into line, right? So, it's even better now because now Jacobs, if he gets past Deverenchenko, has a portion of the middleweight division, okay? He has a portion of that title, which makes it that much interesting because it's a unification. So Canelo fighting Jacobs, and these are two stand-up guys too. They don't talk a lot of smack. They're probably, they're both equal in personality. You know what I mean? They're one of those kind of fighters that a fight will easily be made, I feel, between the both of them because they have the same personality. You kind of look at Deontay Wilder and Tyson Fury, how they're kind of similar, they're boisterous, they're outspoken, they're a personality. Well, where these guys are more like businessmen, role models to their community, and you know what I mean? And they have a certain type of persona that they follow. You know what I mean? You don't really see Canelo ever really get out of his character, instead of the last, face off with Golovkin. But Danny Jacobs, he'll get amped every so often, but he keeps it classy, keeps it professional. And I see that fight happening, and it's a toss up who will win because, Canelo just doesn't have that one punch power or that thudding power like Golovkin, but he can punch. So can Danny Jacobs, and he has a high knockout percentage. He's a very dangerous opponent. He's tall. He's big. Okay. Danny Jacobs is 6 foot tall? You know what I mean? So I think Canelo Alvarez fighting Rocky Philman, I think that's a good barometer for a guy like Danny Jacobs. Philman being taller and bigger, I think that's the trainer's way of saying, let's see how you do with a bigger guy, okay? Then we can come back down and assess that same game plan. Not to say they fight the same, but let's see how you can handle bigger guys like that. You know what I mean? They fought Julio Cesar Chavez Jr., but he really didn't count because the guy starched himself to get down to 164.5 anyway. So you can't really look at that. So I think they needed someone, again, that's a good barometer for a bigger guy. You know what I mean? But Danny Jacobs is quicker than a lot quicker. He's quicker. He's faster. He throws combinations. He kind of does like a Terrence Crawford technique where he switched stances. He did that in the Golovkin fight. And Rozier, he really takes time with Danny Jacobs, and I'm so glad Danny Jacobs went to Matchroom, because I don't think he would have had this opportunity with Al Heyman. I'm just keeping it real. So he did make the best decision for his career. And if he gets the Canelo fight, he's already getting paid. Like he says, he's getting M's. For people that don't know what that means millions. Okay. And, of course, Canelo's making millions. So they're on the same platform. They're paid in advance. So it's a good fight. All they have to do is make the fight happen. And I don't see no problem with Eddie Hearn working with Golden Boy. Okay. Because they're both working on the same side of the street. They're on the same ship. Okay. And that's the analogy they use. They're on the same ship. So it looks like a great fight. And even if that fight doesn't happen, the Andre fight could happen also, because Andre, won last night. So, and I'll talk about that, of course, in another video. But, yeah, man, I think that's going to be a great fight. If it gets made, if these guys can get past their respectable opponents, in front of them now. I think it's set for, I want to say, April. And that would be a fight to see. You know what I mean? And the beautiful thing about it, you don't have to get a bunch of money together. You don't have to, bribe your boys. Hey, just leave $20 at the door. You don't have to do any of that. Why? Because it's on the DAZN app. You know what I mean? If you got a PlayStation 4, you can download it on your PlayStation 4. She'll watch it right there. And guess what? You can watch it as many times as you want after it's done. You know what I mean? So that's the beauty of it. Even if you miss it live, right? And they're going to stream it live, but it's available 24 hours a day. So when you get off, you're like, damn, I missed a fight. You can go and pick off right where you started. You know what I mean? Grab your 6-pack before you went to work, or your 12. It depends on how you drink. You know what I mean? Put that sucker in the cooler. When you get off, you got your beer. All you got to do is go home, take your cooler in, hit the remote, turn on the PlayStation 4, load the DAZN fight. You know what I mean? It's cool, man. I like it. I like that idea. So, Danny Jacobs is a very dangerous opponent for Canelo Alvarez. And I hope that is the route they choose, because, they gave this guy a lot of money. So we have to see if he delivers the fights that people wants to see. Because I remember, before he fought Erislandy Lara, those were the type of fights that he said he wants to give the fans. So, you know what I mean? And since then, you've got a Lara fight, you've got a Cotto fight, you've got 2 Golovkin fights. You know what I mean? Some of them not so much, but he did fight the best guys in the division. So, hey, and at the end of the day, you can't be mad at that. So you guys tell me what you think about this upcoming news from Eddie Hearn, Fast Eddie Hearn. Of course, leave your comments below, hit the like button, and please subscribe. Peace.